2024 has passed us, but with RoboGames on deck, the 2024 UK Heavyweight season approaching, and Battlebots conjuring up a date for World Championship 8, it seems like a perfect time to review which 250-pound heavyweight robots truly were the best in 2023 according to TCC's ranking system. Let's see which heavyweights proved their value last year, which seriously disappointed, and which robots you may have not heard of before are worth looking into for a potential appearance at the next season of Battlebots during World Championship 8. It's the 100 best heavyweights ranked in a fast-paced 3-part series. As for the first time ever here on this channel, we're diving into our TCC 100. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Combot Collective.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Combot Collective. Hopefully we have some new fans here after NHRL. We're here bringing everything you want to know from the world of robot combat, from the heavyweight class to the fleetweight class, from Battlebots to the live circuit. But yes, of course, we are very much focusing on the heavyweight class for this TCC 100 video. First time ever here. As you know, of course, every year in the short life of the Combot Collective thus far, alongside our coverage of numerous events from the USA to the UK to Russia to Australia to even India, we've been tying every region of this sport together with the TCC Overall Rankings, a rankings list which comprises every single heavyweight robot which competed from the beginning of Battlebots World Championship 7 tapings to December 31st, 2023. Our rankings list, which specifically ranks the heavyweight class. If you wish to see other weight class rankings, I would take a look at Bot Rank or NHRL's various ranking lists. But if you're here and you want to see how various robots from Battlebots, RoboGames, Extreme Robots, and even Battle of Robots stand up to one another, you are in the right place. Last year, 211 unique heavyweights from all around the world, from Turkey to India to China to Russia to America to England, graced our presence. But we're not here to rank every single one of them. The name is in the title. We are going from number 100 to our TCC top 10, one by one down to number 1 in a 3-video series. We'll be briskly covering number 100 to number 66 here, and then number 65 to number 33 in part 2. And then in part 3, we'll be going down the 32 best combat robots in the world, number 32 to number 1. But now, to understand how the TCC rankings work, you can look at the completed document in the description below, or check out our graphic right here on the side screen. As you see here, to counteract the volume of sportsman/non-full combat events in the heavyweight class, sportsman/non-full combat fights are worth around half value. Full combat knockouts are worth 8 points. Judges wins are worth 6. Sportsman KOs are worth 4 points. Sportsman judges wins are worth 2. In the rare case that we have a result for a fight but no footage of info or a decision, the robot is awarded 3 points, and if you lose, it's all inverted. The points you are awarded are points lost. But now, without further ado, we have 100 of these bad boys to go through. Let's get cooking here with the first ever TCC 100 video series. If you want to see what number 101 to number 211 is, you can check out the link in the description below, our full rankings document. You will be spoiled of what number 1 is and all that, but we're here to give you the info of it regardless. But let's get to it now. Let's check out some of the best heavyweights of 2023. The 100 best, it's the TCC 100. And you gotta start somewhere with these lists. Even though this robot sits at the number 100 position, ranking higher than 111 other heavyweights which have entered an arena last year. Number 100's Andromeda had a performance with a lot left to be desired in 2023, competing at Battle of Robots. In the first round of the tournament, it challenged Cyberzerk, managing to win only by knockout after Cyberzerk failed to move out of its square at all. This allowed Andromeda to advance, even though Andromeda barely moved either, which meant Denaji had a fairly easy opponent to annihilate in round 2, and that it did, leaving Andromeda at our unhonorable number 100 spot with -2 points on the rankings. Still 2 more points though than robots such as Scorpius, Terahertz, Tough as Nails, and Switch, who just barely missed the TCC 100. Number 99, Double Tap was an interesting case for the TCC rankings all year. Entering as an alternate into the 2022 Battlebots season, it had only 2 battles versus some very underwhelming robots in Slambo and Doomba. 2 robots it was able to dispatch with the greatest of ease, giving Double Tap a ranking in the top 30 for most of the year, a position numerous followers of the TCC rankings found dubious. Fortunately, the critics' voices were heard come Vengeance in Vegas and the Golden Bolt tournament, where Quantum and Beta both handed the robot a swift knockout loss, dropping the very advanced Double Tap like a rock into the number 99 spot, still just enough to make our list. Coming in at number 98 is Vanguard, co-captained by a friend of the Combot Collective in Zach. This US-UK Super Snake-style robot, a sequel to Vanquish, only appeared in one TCC recognized battle this year, and despite being winless, it did benefit by not competing oddly enough here. As with only one battle this year, a Sportsman Judge decision loss against the likes of Two-Headed Death Flamingo and Switch at Robots Live Crawley meant this robot made it out of the year with -2 points, just like Dramada and Double Tap, all while delivering a much better performance than those two, awarding it the number 98 spot in our rankings. This robot seems like it could break out any year, but with more activity and maybe a bigger stage, that's what's going to be necessary to see Vanguard get better. Back to Russia at number 97 as we have the Bite Force clone, which actually starred on the thumbnail of our Bitba Robotov rundown, Volt. While Honey Badger was the premier Bite Force-like robot in the tournament, Volt, a robot from the new team Lightning Thieves, was a bit more compact than the usual Bite Force homage and certainly was not as reliable, as seen in its battle versus Turbo Masha in round 2 of Qualifier B. It did manage one destructive victory over the shoddy horizontal spinner Wonderful though, placing it into our top 100. Coming in at 96, we are back to the UK scene for our first robot to come out of the nation of Scotland in the top 100, Coyote. There were some murmurs that Coyote could return at Extreme Robots this year, but the chainsaw lifter from Ayrshire instead opted for Dublin's Robo Riot event to make its first appearance inside the arena in a couple of years, and it did respectfully, managing to pick up a victory over Donald Thump while also losing a pair versus Two-Headed Death Flamingo, all by judge's decision, putting Coyote at -2 points this year. Now at number 95, we go from a former Robot Wars star to a former Battlebot star. After a subpar debut season inside the Battlebot as Defender back in 2021, its captain Jason Vasquez went back to the drawing board with the design, going fully back to the roots of his original full-body clamp, the 150-gram robot Krabby. The new Defender will be named King Crab, rewired and rehired, rocking a sharp, all-red paint job with the intentions of entering the RoboGames Championship in 2023. Sally the Crab once again would be broiled, this time against a couple of fellow control powerhouses in Big Dill and Terratops. King Crab did manage a full body lift for the first time in its career against one half of Crash and Burn, probably its highlight for 2023. Coming at 94 is a somewhat controversial Golden Fury. This dragon-themed four-wheel drive vert has tried applying to Battlebots in the past, but got rejected despite the robot's rendering looking fantastic with a full dragon body and even a dragon tail mini-bot. Hype for this robot would return when it was announced and would be accepted in the Battle of Robots 2023, but when we finally saw the robot in person, it appeared that Battlebots kind of dodged a bullet here. The robot we got in Russia would be a far cry from the Golden Dragon as we saw in the unique design. Not even a mini-bot here with Golden Fury, but instead it was a basic four-wheel drive vert that worked only sometimes, to be honest. This robot makes the list after its judge's decision victory versus the unique Red Alert, which was quickly nullified by an absolute bodying by Daddy, a robot much, much higher on this list. Coming in at 93, another robot which went 1-1 at Battle of Robots Qualifier B, the very pretty Auxilium, a robot which did live up to the beauty it promised and built up to the event, albeit while not performing the best. This phenomenal looking robot, a ominous and whiplash hybrid we almost discussed in our Battle of Robots rundown video, had an okay start after winning an awkward judge's decision versus the equally as creative looking Darkness, but more so by living longer than doing any actual damage. This left Auxilium to be a pretty easy draw for whoever it ended up meeting in round 2, and unfortunately for Auxilium, that would be Iron Wind, the robot formerly known as Rainbow. It would take only one hit to shut down Auxilium's season, but it does find its way into position number 93 off its one win and its great looks. Finally, at number 92, we get a little bit of a big name here with the one and only Irish legend Dietor. This 20-plus-year-old Team Nemesis robot, one of the sport's most iconic of all time, had a blockbuster 2022, breaking into the scene once again by winning its home event, Robo Riot, which propelled it to a number 27 ranking out of 141 robots last year. Not so fortunate this year. Deator returned to Robo Riots to defend its championship, but would instead relinquish it to Immersion after a 2-3 campaign, which was mired with losses to the likes of Ripper and Two-Headed Doflamingo. It was also never set on fire this year. What is that about? It's not Deator without a little bit of fire. Now at number 1, we go from one iconic team in Team Nemesis to another which has become much more iconic for more menacing reasons in hardcore robotics. For the first time in years, Tombstone/Last Rites has completely sat out of the sport for a full 365 window, and a big reason for that is Ray Billings has a brand new project in Stink Eye. This traditional two-wheel drive vert stone had been teased for years, as Ray Billings always shared that he wanted to build a vertical spinner with a weapon he had in his shed for the longest time. And off the bat, it kicked off RoboGames with some gusto, knocking out Boyan before doing the same to its rival at the event, Swamp Thing. Stink Eye, though, would finish at an even 2-2 after also taking some hard losses to underdog Chaos 3 and eventual champion Manta, who absolutely delivered at the Stink Eye. Still an impressive debut, though, with more to come, it seems, in 2024 for the new Billings robot. But now, from a Battlebots mainstay at number 91 to 90, let's go to a robot which has spent quite a bit of time inside the Battlebox this year with our first ever Proving Grounds robot in the TCC 100, the original Proving Ground robot, Disarray. This four-wheel drive vert, a product of the University of Arizona, started off the year with a strong pair of knockout wins over Terra Dominator in May, making it look like an absolute world beater, but this robot has come back down to earth quite a bit with losses to both Jackpot and the beloved Taco Tuesday, all of which came by knockout. This left Disarray at 3-3 for the year with a unique variety of opponents challenged, plenty of room for growth during its campaign for TV time in 2024, but there are some big things on this robot that still need fixing, primarily that Shremek, so I guess we're just going to have to see what happens in 2024 Proving Grounds for Disarray. But now, kicking off the 80s in our TCC 100 is a little bit of a shocking name, the former King of Bots and Robot Wars champion, Apollo. While the road to getting Orion into the battle box still wages forward, Apollo went through another year of primarily exhibition battles against its teammate Vulcan, but did compete in one event, just as it did last year, this time appearing at Robots Livestoke, where it battled Implosion. The team was a bit shaky behind the wheel, with Apollo's usual captain driving the robot for the first time in 2 years, and ultimately the machine would be outmatched by the much wedgier Axbot in a close judging decision, putting Apollo at -2 points, our highest ranked -2 of the bunch we have listed so far. But now, at 88, we go from one Robot Wars Grand Finalist to another that you may have not realized have fought this year. It's Sabretooth. Sabretooth, much like Apollo/Orion, is another robot who is on the road to returning to Battlebots after being originally confirmed for one season. And much like Apollo, the version we saw competing this year was not the Battlebots version, but rather the two-wheel drive Drumbot version from Robot Wars Series 10. Sabretooth was more active than Apollo, but it had its own struggles in the arena, going 1-2 with its lone victory coming against the Austrian bot Scrappy by way of KO in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Sabretooth is the only robot in our list to finish its year at -1 points. But now, from some of the best robots the Robot Wars reboot had to offer, we get right back down to earth with some very mediocre robots which all finished the year at 0 points, starting with the lowest ranking of the 0-point robots at 87, Pneumokraken, another Battle of Robots rookie. Pneumokraken featured one of the most underwhelming axes the sport would see this year, with just enough reliability to outlast its round 1 opponent Diamond Warrior in a very underwhelming knockout. In round 2, though, Pneumokraken will be brought right back to see thanks to Redhorn, who ripped the boxy Axbot apart, which meant Kraken would finish its year with a knockout win and a knockout loss, but not all wins and losses are created equal, which is why it sits so low here. As is the case for BRP 23, which at 86, despite having a similar record, would perform just as abysmally as Pneumokraken. In fact, at least Pneumokraken's weapon kind of worked. BRP 23 didn't work at all and may have served better as a hockey puck or a curling iron as it did a robot. But thankfully for it, much like Pneumokraken, BRP 23 was blessed with a robot which worked even more poorly in Shepard's round 1 battle. Another underwhelming knockout victory, which will be followed by an underwhelming knockout loss against Turkey's Lonely Wolf in round 2, sending the ring spinner home with a 1-1 record as well. Coming in at 85 is Red Triangle, and no, this is not an error or repeat entry you're looking at here. There just happens to be 2 1-win, 1-loss ring spinners which didn't work at all competing at Battle of Robots. BRP was in qualifier A, Red Triangle was in qualifier B, only placing above Numo Kraken and BRP because it somehow made it through full 3 minutes in both of its battles. Its round 1 was a controversial victory against the AI Hammerbot headliner, and in round 2 it was a mere punching bag for Kolobaka and Godspeed, who qualified for December over it. Now at number 84, we break away from the Russian robots and we move over to Team Immersion's Ember, a robot once mistaken to be a repainted abrasion and a robot which in 2022 most notably lost to a wooden pallet. The 2023 campaign wasn't nearly as embarrassing, thankfully. It appeared at 2 events this year, with its highlight being a full combat victory over the spinners of Donald Thump and Triforce. Overall, though, at Extreme Robots and Robot Riots, collectively, Ember found itself with 2 wins and 3 losses, but at least it didn't get knocked out by a puss of wood this year. No knockout losses at all, in fact, for the front hinge lifter, something to be proud of. Coming in at 83 is the Blood Moon-esque, cartoon-inspired, gnome-driven Yene the Crocodile, the only round 1 exitee from Battle of Robots 2023 to make it onto our TCC 100 list after an impressive Rumble win versus Diamond Warrior, Nutel, and number 17, where it managed to rip off the ladder's wheel late into the battle. Yene the Crocodile had a very potent weapon and a very likable team, but in its one tournament battle versus Hypericum, it was simply outmatched in speed and agility, which led to a judge's decision defeat after a valiant struggle for Yene the Crocodile. And out of all the round 1 losers at Battle of Robots, there is not one robot I am more excited to see in the future than Yene the Crocodile. No heavyweight design like it right now out of the 211 we saw this year, something to be proud of as well. Coming at number 82, we have another Battlebots alternate, and one which was exclusive to these exhibition rounds with Dragon King. This robot was originally built by Jerome Miles of DT Robotics, where it had a fairly uneventful run at King of Bots 2 outside of one solid battle versus Warrior. And in 2022, the team sold Dragon King to Team Bot Bash Robotics, allowing the crew behind Scorpius to expand to 2 robots, with Dragon King now being captained by Will Prater. The double-bladed grappler would bat 500 inside the battle box, with it first picking up a judge's win over Doomba before losing a judge's decision to Terratops in a very prehistoric powwow. Very interested to see which event Dragon King turns up next to, if we do get to see more of it at all in 2024. Like to see it at RoboGames, but with what's going on there, I guess we're just going to have to see. Staying inside the battle box, this time at Proving Grounds last year, at number 81 and number 80, we have 2 robots which actually met one another over the weekend of July 22nd, 2023, during a pair of battles which pitted unproven veteran Vert versus unproven veteran horizontal spinner. And just one spot lower than the former at 81 is Pinch Point. This Alabama robot last competed at various RFL events in the early 2000s, but made a return last year boasting the same unique spinning counter blades that it had as its weapon before, albeit much bigger and nastier this time around. And Pinch Point will go 1-1 against the robot we have listed at number 80, with both robots picking up a knockout win versus one another. The only reason why Pinch Point sits lower because of the huge damage it took to its weapon, and the robot which did this to Pinch Point, Mudhole Bullfrog at number 80. Pinch Point is already planning for a return in 2024, and at some point in July, we are expecting the same from Team Wapukai's Mudhole Bullfrog. And we really look forward to seeing it because it made quite a solid impact in its first set of fights since 2009, doing some proper damage to Pinch Point with its big-time vertical spinner. The robot shows promise, albeit not much character. Still very interested to see where the team goes from here. The team's featherweight Bullfrog made the transition from wheels to shuffling legs at Motorama. We're going to be covering that in a future video. Maybe we can see heavyweight shufflers in action with Team Wapukai. Only time will tell. But now, number 79, we're jumping into the 70s now and hopping back to Battle of Robots, where we go to the all-white Valkyrie-inspired undercutter of Sinusbot. Yes, the robot is called Sinusbot. That is not like some weird translation. That is genuinely what the team named the robot. And despite the incredibly unflattering name, this machine showed some serious potential before it even entered the arena, as we knew this robot was coming from Team Destruct-A, one of the very few Russian teams to enter Battle of Robots with some genuine experience dealing with heavyweight spinners in the past. This experience and power allowed Sinusbot to roar past round 1 with a dominant knockout victory over Bozon in less than 2 minutes, but Sinusbot's run came to a screeching halt when it faced eventual champion Iron Scrap, who absolutely decimated the Undercutter. Seriously looking forward to more of this robot and team in 2024, though after its most recent fight, we may be in need of a full rebuild. But now, coming in at 78 is not some random Proving Grounds robot. It's not some random 1-win, 1-loss robot from Russia. It's not even a live event robot from the UK. How about the most successful heavyweight of all time, Original Sin? That's right, after 5 years of no RoboGames, Gary Jin's signature Super Wedge was set for a comeback at RoboGames 2023 and was a favorite among many, including the Combot Collective, to be the winner of the RoboGames 2023 heavyweight class, which would have given Original Sin a record-crushing 13th major heavyweight championship. Unfortunately, all the Battlebots Mainstays showing at the RoboGames for the first time ever had a different idea in mind. In what was Original Sin's worst performance in over a decade, we saw Gary Jin get some underwhelming wins versus the likes of Lazy Bots, but here it was better known for taking some serious beatings from the likes of Lucky and especially Malice, who managed to rip wheels off the face of RoboGames in a judge's decision loss. After many expected this robot to be pushing number 1 in our rankings, Original Sin ended up looking a lot more like Original Swin, bowing out of 2023 with a 2-2 record and 0 points. No knockouts either way, though. That's a little bit of something. So that's one huge name, sad year out of the way, but at 77, let's take it back to Russia with another promising one-on-one robot that we recently discussed in our Battle of Robots rundown. Coming in at lucky number 77 is Master of Fields, a very promising two-wheel drive drum bot from Team Timitrevetsky. The robot, one inspired by various pieces of farming equipment, had much fanfare entering its rookie event and delivered on the fanfare by opening with a vicious victory over Kazakhstan's Huntsman before suffering a very hard-fought judge decision loss against the country's most recognizable robot, Weber. A great base for Master of Fields to build on for next year, and unlike Sinusbot, there's a lot of this robot left for next year. That's good for the team. But now, coming in at number 76 is not a American robot, sadly, but a UK horizontal spinner, which may very well now be retired. The spinner class at Extreme Robots during the start of the Extreme Robots season was not the strongest. We saw a lot of robots such as Scrappy and Donald Thump tape an absolute beating month after month versus the seemingly unstoppable Zadkill. And during the first half of the year, it genuinely felt like the only robot which could keep up with the top-ranked machine was Team Roaming Robot's own Galactus. Galactus had been around for a few years, but really picked it up this year with a few very exciting battles against Zadkill, who made up every single loss Galactus had this year in what was a 3-3 campaign overall, with every single battle, win or loss, being decided by knockout. Sadly, at the end of the year, after a battle between Monsoon and Zadkill ending in seconds, the Roaming Robots team selflessly sacrificed their robot as a play toy for Ominous at the end of the year. And as of now, we don't know what the robot's status will be in 2024. I really do hope we can see it. Extreme Robots needs promising spinners, and that is certainly one. 1/4 of our way down the list, and now we encounter the first of 16 December finalists from the inaugural Battle of Robots season with Hypericum. Hypericum was the only finalist to enter December with a loss under its belt, and that's because the robot ended up getting back into the championship tournament after a fan vote elected the St. John's Wort College robot back over every other early round dropout from this event. This agile, Mo-esque horizontal spinner exclusively put together entertaining battles from its strong aforementioned start versus Ganeta Crocodile to its electro qualifier fight against Honey Badger to even its valiant showing against the eventual Battle of Robots runner-up Godspeed. Hypericum may not have had the most PG name, but we do hope its rated R level power returns for 2024. But now at 74, we move on to an elite team in Team Invade and take a look at our first real axe spot on the TCC 100 with Implosion. At the start of the year, after a dominant 2022 Extreme Robots year, Team Invade wanted a new challenge in the heavyweight class, and after over a decade of exclusively fighting with flippers in the heavyweight division, the team had assembled their first ever axe spot in Implosion. Implosion started off its year very rough, with a 1-5 record during its debut show, but Michael Oates was persistent to make this robot the best he could, and even focused on it pretty much exclusively and built up to quite a few Extreme Robots events this year. In total, Implosion found itself appearing at 7 events this year with a whopping 38 fights under its belt during its rookie campaign, coming out of it with a 21-17 record with 4 knockout victories plus an Extreme Robots Championship reign late into the year. But alright, back to the horizontal spinners now, and back to the Russian Renegades from Battle of Robots at number 73. And like we addressed in the past, numerous Battle of Robots teams were newcomers, and the ones that were veterans found themselves coming with brand new builds for this new era of combat. But not Team Matanga. Those dudes instead showed up with a robot that looked like it was completely unchanged from the last time we saw it fight all the way back in 2017. And that left us a little bit skeptical, but Matanga quickly proved that the old dog still had some tricks with its easy knockout victory against Kamaz in round 1. In round 2, though, Matanga became one of many robots in our TCC 100 list that should have gotten a better ranking, but shifty judging ended up getting in the way. In its round 2 battle against RH Bots, Matanga controlled the fight, doing early damage and even landing a strike which broke both robots' weapons at once. A strong outing, but not enough according to the Battle of Robots judges. Matanga ended up losing this match somehow, ending its record at 1-1. Good news though, with Matanga's 2 total points, we are now in the positive point threshold on our TCC 100 list. And our second robot to proudly hold 2 points would be the surprise flipper coming out of Team Quake this last Extreme Robot season, number 72, Troublemaker. This fairly standard Brit flipper appeared in 5 Extreme Robots events last year, but did suffer some issues throughout the summer, with a couple of showings ending early or being missed completely due to damages the robot had taken. Despite that, the robot still put together a respectable 7-5 year, with it really shining in tag team battles, including the one you see here, a fantastic fight in June where it worked alongside Mana to defeat Ripper and Saint in record time. But now moving on to 71, and in 2023 we saw plenty of wicked, creative designs enter the battle box for proving grounds, from Conquering Clown to Orbitron to Warthog. Some of those robots aren't even on the TCC 100, but perhaps none found the perfect balance of creativity and combat more than Carter Hurd's Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday, of course, began its career as an Antweight testing platform to try out a very unique T-drive wheel configuration we have not seen in the sport before. And shockingly, at the lower level, it did excellently, placing 3rd in its very debut event. So the team then decided to bring the design up to the heavyweight class. And after a shocking, impressive, and exciting weekend against Disarray, which saw Taco Tuesday pick up a judge's decision loss and a knockout victory of all things, the general consensus now seems that the vertical spinner Taco Tuesday may be on TV sooner rather than later. Taco Tuesday left 2023 with a 1-1 record and is now scheduled for another Proving Grounds weekend later this year versus Magnitude, and what may be a huge challenge for the new team of what is a true battle of combat versus concept. We're going to have to see what happens. I'm super excited for Carter Hurd, a fellow YouTuber, getting into the arena. We love to see it. We finish off the 70s though with another vertical spinner, and a much more traditional one at that, in War Machine. During the first Battle of Robots qualifier in September, 2 robots from India were slated to be in a field, and amongst their challengers, both seemed like locks to reach the December championship with 2 easy wins. The first of these 2 robots to discuss was Team Panther's War Machine here, a veteran team's first ever 250-pounder. And this combat 2-wheel drive vert showed promise early on, dominating the X-Bot Volage before having its promising run come to a screeching halt when it faced Wayside 23 in the second round, who absolutely had its way with War Machine, roofing it on multiple occasions. War Machine proved its durability, but did bow out with 1 knockout win and 1 knockout loss. And fittingly enough, at the nice number of 69, we have the other robot from that qualifier that struggled, Sarkel. Sarkel, just like War Machine, managed to pick up a dominant knockout victory in its opener, only to lose a hard-fought judge's decision in its qualifier finals, this time against Adam. This robot, though, really had the expectations behind it, with Sarkel originally being built for RoboGames last year, but it had to pull out due to visa issues, sadly. It was a bit of a sad year for Team Prix's new heavyweight, but its destructive victory over number 17 did show that this robot and team do have some serious promise that they just need to unlock. They were at IIT Tech Fest. Hopefully they had some success there. And we got another All-Star coming in at number 68. Back to the UK and back to another Robot Wars Grand Finalist with one of the oldest Axbots in the sport today, thru. thru in 2022 had a rough year, going winless at a couple of events, but that seemingly turned around when Captain Jason Marston went to Battlebots to be Beta's hammer operator. And after a season rebound for both Beta and Jason Marston, the one-man army went back to his home nation and home robot to wreak havoc on Extreme Robots once again. And havoc he delivered with an 11-8 record, including 3 knockout victories and a handful of impressive tag battles alongside his Team Quake counterparts, most namely with Mega Mouse early on into the year, certainly a major candidate for Extreme Robots' upcoming tag team title belts, which will debut this year. And then staying at Team Quake, we have a Team Shock robot which has made itself pretty much synonymous with the Extreme Robots heavyweight title belt, Tectonic. Now, Tectonic had a phenomenal 2022 with multiple event victories and championship reigns across the English live scene, but it suffered quite the drop in 2023, going from number 25 last year to number 67 this year. But Tectonic still impressed, had some exciting fights and some solid wins, but in total, its record would cap off at 20 wins and 19 losses, almost a perfect 500 record after nearly 40 fights. Tectonic proved it's a workhorse again this year, but it also proved it can easily lose to any robot as easily as it can beat any robot after one battle versus the number 211 ranked Saint, where it would get knocked out by the bottom ranked robot, improving Saint's record overall this year to 1 win and 23 losses. And then at number 66, we wrap up this first of 3 parts of the TCC 100 with again another Team Quake robot. Make it 3 in a row, and again, another Team Shock robot. Make that 2 in a row. For the first time since debuted over a decade ago, Team Shock's signature flipper robot Manta would not be the best heavyweight in the world named Manta, but don't discredit Will Thomas's former FRA UK Championship machine. After a gremlin late in 2021 and 2022, it seemed like things were finally back on the right track for Manta at Extreme Robots this year, in both singles and tag team action. Manta altogether turned in a 14-11 record, with 5 of those 14 wins coming by way of knockout, and many more of those featuring a Manta out of the arena of some sort. It seemed like the internal issues are now to the wayside for Manta, who is now the ace of Team Shock once again with Aftershock's retirement. Now it's time for the Blue Flipper to try and take back its control over robots like Eruption and Iron 6 and propel Team Quake to a championship for 2024's Extreme Robot season. But there you go, guys. 33 robots up, 33 robots down in the video here. That's part 1. Number 100 to 66, like I said, some very exciting robots already, such as Original Sin, such as Apollo. Big names from the US, the UK, and even Russia there, and we got even more coming along. Stay tuned for the next part of this video where we go over number 65 to number 33. We got some very exciting robots there, such as Behemoth from the UK, such as Weber from Russia, such as Rotator, and numerous other Battlebots robots such as Ribot and the like in the United States. RoboGames robots as well. Extreme robots as well. A lot of big names. Hexadecimators in that video. You're going to want to see it. See who is not in the top 32, because that top 32 video is going to be big. You're definitely going to want to not miss that. But that's going to wrap it up. That is the first third of the TCC 100, and we will see you guys next time for even more here at the Combot Collective. See you next time.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.